61A, Lecture Number 3, Announcements. Lab 0, which doesn't count for points, and Lab 1, which does, are due on Wednesday. But that due date is really a formality. You're meant to finish these during your lab section, and lab happens between Monday and Wednesday, depending on when you're enrolled. To find your lab section, go to sections.cs61a.org, which tells you what time your lab is and its location. If you don't finish during the lab section, you can finish afterwards. That's why there's a due date. But the goal is to have people finish while they're there. Homework 1 you do on your own. It's due this Thursday. It's definitely not a trivial homework. Question 1's pretty easy. You read the syllabus, fill out the syllabus quiz. Even if you answer something wrong, you can still get credit. But, try to answer it correctly. And at the end, it will tell you what you got right and what you got wrong. That way you know how the course works. Also, please fill out the optional welcome survey. And wow, is it short. Tell us what you like to be called. Tell us what you think about midterm exams. And respond to these two special programs related to 61A, CS Scholars, and 47A. Most people will answer no to both, but we just want to make sure you know these things exist. Then solve questions 2 through 6. And the solutions are really short, but the ideas behind them are significant. So it's not uncommon at all that someone will get stuck on one of these problems for quite a while because they need to learn something new in order to solve them. And the way you learn something new is by coming to lecture, coming to section, reading the textbook. Here you can find links. And if none of that works, come in and get help. So how do you solve this? You can't solve it here. Instead, you have to download the zip and edit the file. You'll learn how to do that in Lab 0. There's a copy of the file that you fill in online that we can look at together. You can just delete these blanks and replace them with your answer. There are a few functions in this file that you can ignore. Anything that says syntax check in it is not a problem you have to complete. And it's filled with code that you probably won't understand. And that's fine. All these are doing is checking to make sure that you follow the directions. The directions for question 2 say, you may not modify any of the provided code other than the 2 blanks. This very mysterious looking thing is just checking to make sure you didn't do that. So as long as you follow the directions, you don't need to worry about these syntax checks at all. Just pretend they're not there. So you solve this problem by filling it in. Solve this one by filling in this blank. Oh, here's another one of those pesky syntax checks. And again, it's just making sure that you follow the directions. This function doesn't have a blank at all. Instead, you get to delete this line and write as much code as you want. So some questions are quite constrained, and some of them let you just go wild. The next 3 functions go together. And there's no place in which it says your code here. That's because it's your job to fix the implementation provided. The one given you doesn't work. You'll have to read the question to find out why. But then you can make changes anywhere, here, here, and here, as long as you follow the instructions. You can ignore this one. And finally, Hailstone is something that's open-ended. You can fill it in with any code that you want. Now there is one more problem down here, called the quine, and you should pretend this doesn't exist. Let's go back to the homework and see what it says. It says this question is just for fun. It's out of scope of 61A. What the heck is it doing on a 61A homework? Well, if you have extra time for some reason and you want to explore something interesting about programming languages that has absolutely no practical value, it's just a fun puzzle, then you could try this out. And the problem is to write a one-line program that prints itself. And how do you do that? Well, by using the things that you've learned in this class so far. But don't work on this problem. Just focus on the actual work, unless you've run out of other things to do and you just want to have fun. If this is not your idea of fun, that is totally fine. There are lots of other fun things to do in the world. But if solving puzzles is your idea of fun, you could try this out. It's totally fine to ignore it, and you'll get full credit on the homework if you do. If you get stuck, that's normal. You can come in and ask for help at office hours, which are linked here, also up here. This brings you to the office hours schedule, where you can get help starting at 9 a.m. on Monday. These Zoom office hours are hosted by the course staff. Instructor office hours have our names. And if you click on this, you'll go straight to the link that hosts the Zoom session where this office hour will happen. Likewise for this. As we announced on the first day, Pamela's office hours are not recorded. My office hours are recorded. But when I record them, I then edit out all the students. So if you come to my office hours, it won't be the case that your face or your voice is going to be broadcast all over YouTube. Instead, how I do it is I let people ask questions. Sometimes we talk for a while to clarify. Then I repeat the question and answer it. And me repeating the question and answering it is the only thing that ends up in the video that I publish. These videos will be published as part of the lecture playlists so that anyone who wants to watch them can. But it's really just me asking questions and then answering them, but all the questions come from the students who attend. So I hope you don't feel scared off coming to my office hours just because they're recorded. You will be recorded, but then I'll edit you out. And most students ask about the course material, but you could ask about anything you want. I'll take questions about course material first. I also have some in-person office hours. They're in my office, which doesn't appear on this calendar, so I'll try to fix that. But my office is 781 Soda, and I'll make sure that appears somewhere on the website so you can find it. These in-person office hours will not be recorded. You can ask about anything you want, and it'll be great to see you there. There are some other interesting things on this page. There's an office hour dedicated to advising, especially if you're wondering which course you want to take because you're enrolled in multiple programming courses and you're not yet sure which one's for you. Come and ask. Other people will ask too. So Patricia's holding some of these. So is Jordan, Cooper, and Vanshaj. If nobody comes to these, then we'll have fewer of them. But we'll hold them on the calendar for now in case people are wondering what they're doing here, what courses they should take, what it means to major in various things. You can come in and ask about whatever you want. You'll notice that during the day on Monday and Tuesday, everything is over Zoom, but in the evening, there are some in-person office hours. And then there's an in-person homework party. Homework's due Thursday. It's a really good idea to start early. You could even start earlier than Wednesday night. But just in case you've started already and you've come up with some questions and you want to finish it on Wednesday night, come to the homework party. This is like office hours, except it's a party, which just means we have more staff there. But that means we can handle more students. So if you want one time to come in, when you know there are going to be a lot of tutors available to help you out, that's the homework party. Much better to come in on Wednesday than Thursday when the homework is due. These can get awfully crowded. And we do have multiple rooms reserved so that even if lots of people come, we won't all be piled in next to each other. We get spread out throughout the building. But please come to Corey 241 first, and you might have somebody redirect you somewhere else. Okay, so that's the plan for the week. One more thing is that in addition to the regular lectures, there will be extra lectures. They'll be on Thursdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We're still working on a room because I requested a room pretty late, but assuming campus gives us one, this will probably be an in-person only lecture series. And the extra lecture series are extra topics that are not part of the course. They're related to 61A. They extend some of the material in interesting ways, but they're just for fun, and they will not help you learn the material better, or solve the homework faster, or do better on exams. They'll just teach you other things besides 61A material. Extra stuff in the extra lectures. And these topics are just for fun. They're things that I like to talk about. I'll actually co-teach this with one of the GSIs, Assad, who's doing a PhD in something related to programming languages, so he knows a lot about this. And the two of us will trade off just to tell you about interesting things. The vast majority of students do not come to the extra lecture series. And that's totally fine. You do not need to come. You're not missing anything. But if you're feeling really comfortable with the 61A material and you want a little bit of extra, you could come to the extra lecture series. In fact, here we'll actually discuss some of the just for fun homework problems. If you go to office hours and ask about equine, probably the tutors and GSIs will just turn you away and say, well, why don't you go to the extra lecture series and ask about it there? So we can give you some hints about how to make some progress on these problems when you're there, and we'll discuss some solutions the week after. It is possible to receive 1 unit of PNP course credit for attending the extra lecture series and doing some extra homeworks. You could come to the extra lecture for details. Definitely don't do this for the unit because it's not going to help you. It doesn't count toward anything at all. But if you're planning to spend a bunch of time on this extra lecture series, then you might as well get some course credit for it. Okay, that was a lot of announcements. Normally announcements videos will go faster, but I'm just trying to orient you to how the course works. And now we'll dive into the topic of control. There's a lot in this lecture. And some of the topics in this lecture just take some experience to really master. So I'll introduce them in the lecture videos, but you have to go to lab and discussion in order to really understand them, and then the homework should help as well.